Lead class.
Yes, I will. Okay.
I started recording.
No glasses here last time.
What's that?
I left the new glasses in the last time. Very cool.
There's two glasses over there in the corner.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Krishna, Krishna.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Sarasvatim Vyasam Tato Jaya Mudirayat. Before reciting Srimad-Bhagavatam, which is a very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances to the personality of God Narayan, and to Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, and to Mother Sarasvati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Today we are reading from Canto 2, Cosmic Creation, Manifestation. And we are reading from chapter 10, Bhagavatam is the answer to all questions. And we are on text 49 and 50. We are going to read one Sanskrit word at a time. Shatu, Kosharave, Tasya, Samvada, Adhyatma, Shamshita, Yat, Va, Sa, Bhagavan, Tasmai, Krista, Tattvam, Uvacha, Buhi, Na, Tat, Idam, Somya, Vidurasya, Vishestitam, Bandhutyaga, Nimitam, Sha, Yata, Eva, Agatavam, Guna, Shatu Kusharavestasya, Samvado Dyatma Samshitaha, Yadvasa Bhagavam Stasmai, Kristatadvam Uvachaha, Uhinastadidam Somya, Vidurasya vishestitam
Vidurasya vishestitam
Bandhutyaga nimitam cha
Bandhutyaga nimitam cha
Yatava gatavan punaha
Yatayagatavan punah
Chatukoshara ravestasya
Yatukosharavistasya
Samvado dyatma samshritaha
Samvado dhyatmasomshrita
Ritastatvamuvachaha
Yadvasa bhagavam tasmai
Yadvasa bhagavam tasmai
Yadvasa bhagavam tasmai
Ritastatvamuvachaha
Ristastatvamuvachaha
Bhuinastadidam somya
Burhinastadidam somya
Vidurasya vishestitam
Vidurasya vishestitam
Bandhutyaga nimitam cha
Bandhutyaganimitam cha
Yatava gatavan punaha
Yatavagatavan punam
Chatukusharavestasya
Tetukosharavestasya
Samvado dyatma samshritaha
Samvado dhyatmasam shrita
Ritastatvamuvachaha
Yadvasa bhagavam tasmai
Ristatvatvamuvachaha
Vistastatvamuvachaha
Omanastadidam somya
Uvinastadidam samya
Vidurasya vishestitam
Virasya chaistitam
Bandhutyaga nimitam cha
Bandhutyaganimitam cha
Yatava gatavan punaha
Yatayagatavan punah Chatukosharavestasya
Chatukusharavestasya
Sambado Dhyatma Samshrita
Samvado dyatma samshritaha
Yadvasa Bhagavam Tasmai
Yadvasa bhagavan stasya
Krishnas Tatvam Vachaha
Istam tatvamuvachaha
Uvinastadidam Somya
Uvinastadidam somya
Vidurasya Vichestitam
Vidurasya vishestitam
Bandhutyaganimitam cha
Bandhutyaga nimitam cha
Yatayagatavan punah
Yatva gatavan punaha
Chatukosravestasya
Chatukosharavestasya
Samvado Dhyatma Samshritaha
Samvado
Dhyatma
samshritaha
Yadvasa Bhagavan Tasmai
Yadvasa bhagavan tasmai
Kristastatvamuvachaha
Ritastatvamuvachaha
Burhinastadidam somya
Uhinastadidam somya
Vidurasya vichestitam
Vidurasya vishestitam
Bandhutyaga nimitam cha
Bandhutyaga nimitam cha
Yataiva gatavan punah
Yatava gatavan punaha
Satukasarabhastasya
Chatukosharavestasya
Samvado Dhyatma Samsarita
Samvado dyatma samshritaha
Yadvasa Bhagavam Tasmai
Yadvasa bhagavam stasmai
Ritastatvam Uvachaha
Ritastatvam uvachaha
Buhinastadidam Sonya
Puinastadidam somya
Vidurasya Vichestitam
Vidurasya vishestitam
Bandhutyaganimitam cha
Bandhutyaga nimitam cha
Yata Vagatavam Punya.
Yatava Gatavam Punaham. Someone online would like to chant?
Zatu Savara Svestasha
Chatukosharavestasya
Samvado Dhyatma Samshrita
Vado Dhyatma Samshritaha
Yadvasa Bhagavam Tashmai
Vasa Bhagavam Stasmai
Rishtastatvam Uvachaha
Vitastadvam Uvachaha
Rohinastadidam Samya
Uinastadidam Shomya
Vidurasya Vicheshtitam
Viduasya Vishestitam
Bandhutyagani Matam Cha
Bandhutyaga Nimitam Cha
Yadhaiva Gatavam Puna
Yataiva Gatavan Punaha. Word for word at the time I was on Sanskrit and English. Chatu,
Chatu,
O Vidura,
Avidura,
Kosharave,
Shasharave,
Azad of Maitreya,
Azad Maitreya,
Tasya,
Tasya,
there,
There,
Samvada,
Sambhada,
news,
News,
Adhyatma,
Adhyatma,
in a matter of transcendental knowledge.
in matter of transcendental knowledge,
Shamshita,
Samshrita,
full of,
full of
Yat,
Yat,
which,
which,
Va,
Va,
anything else,
anything else,
Sa,
Sa,
He,
He,
Bhagavan,
Bhagavan,
His grace,
His grace,
Tasmai,
that's mine.
and to him,
Unto him,
Krista,
Krishna,
inquired,
inquired,
Tatvam,
Tatvam,
the truth,
the truth,
Uvacha,
Uvacha,
answered,
answered,
Ah,
Ah,
in the past,
in the past,
Bui,
Uri,
please tell,
please tell,
Na,
Na,
unto us,
unto us,
Tat,
Tat,
those matters,
those matters,
Idam,
Idam,
here,
here,
Saumya,
Somya,
O gentle one,
O gentle one,
Vidurasya,
Vidurasya,
O Viduha,
O
Vishestitam,
Cheshtitam,
activities,
activity,
Bandhutyaga,
Vandutyaga,
renouncing the friends,
renouncing the friends,
Nimitam,
Nimitam,
the cause of,
cause of,
Cha,
Cha,
also,
also,
Yata,
Yata,
as,
as,
Eva,
Eva,
also,
also,
Agatavam,
Agatavam,
came back,
came back,
Puna,
Puna,
again,
again,
at home.
at home.
Shonaka Rishi said, let us know, please, what topics were discussed between Vidura and Maitreya, who talk on transcendental subject, and what was inquired by Vidura and replied by Maitreya. Also, please let us know the reason for Vidura's giving up the connection of his family members and why he came home again. Please also let us know the activities of Vidura while he was in a place of pilgrimage. Purpose by Stephen Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Sri Shuta Goswami was narrating the topics of the creation and destruction of the material world, but it appears that the rishi headed by Shonaka were more inclined to hear of transcendental subjects, which are on a higher level than the physical. There are two classes of men, namely those who are too addicted to the gross body and the material world, and others on a higher level who are interested more in transcendental knowledge. Srimad-Bhagavatam gives facility to everyone, both to the materialist and to the transcendentalist. By hearing Srimad-Bhagavatam in a matter of the Lord's glorious activities, both in the material world and in the transcendental world, men can derive equal benefit. The materialists are more interested in the physical laws and how they are acting. They see wonders in those physical glamours. Sometimes, due to physical glamours, they forget the glories of the Lord. They should know definitely, that physical activities and their wonders are all initiated by the Lord. The rose in the garden gradually takes its shape and color to become beautiful and sweet, not by the blind physical law. Also, it appears like that. Behind that physical law is the creation of the complete consciousness of the Supreme Lord. Otherwise, things cannot take shape so systematically. The artist draws a picture of a rose, which very nicely, with all attention and artistic sense, and yet it does not become as perfect as a real rose. If that is a fact, how can we say that a real rose has taken its shape without intelligence behind the beauty? This sort of conclusion is due to profound of knowledge. One must know from the above description of creation and annihilation that the Supreme Consciousness, being omnipresent, can take care of everything with perfect attention. I'm going to repeat that because it's so profound. That one must know from the above description of creation and annihilation that the Supreme Consciousness, being omnipresent, can take care of everything with perfect attention. That is the fact of the omnipresence of the Supreme Lord. Persons still more foolish than the gross materialists, however, claim to be transcendentalists and claim to have such a supreme all-pervading consciousness, but offer no proof. Such a foolish person cannot know what is going on behind the next wall, yet they are falsely proud of possessing the cosmic all-pervading consciousness of the Supreme Person. For them also, hearing of Srimad-Bhagavatam is a great help. It will open the eyes to see that simply by claiming supreme consciousness, one does not become supremely conscious. One has to prove in the physical world that he has such a supreme consciousness. The rishis of Naimisharanya, however, were above the gross materialist and the false transcendentalist, and thus they were always anxious to know the real truth in transcendental matters, as discussed by authorities. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnana Jala Shalakaya Shakshud Militam Yena Tasma Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Shtapitam Yena Bhutane Swayam Upakadamayam Datati Swapadantikam Vandeyam Shigu Shiyuta Padakamalam Shigum Vaishnavam Shah Shirupam Sagajatam Sahagana Ragunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saita Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitam Cha E Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagat Pate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gourangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Shveta Vanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Panchakalpa Tarubhya Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Mokam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langa Yate Girim Yakrita Tamaham Vande Sagurum De Natarinam Namaum Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Tinamine Namaste Sarasvati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paskachade Shatarine. We are reading from Srimad-Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 10, text 49 and 50. Shonaka Rishi said, "Let us know, please, What topics were discussed between Vidura and Maitreya, who talk on transcendental subject, and what was inquired by Vidura and replied by Maitreya? Also, please let us know the reason for Vidura's giving up the connection of his family members and why he again came home. Please also let us know the activities of Vidura while he was in the place of pilgrimage. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So there's so many places I could go with a verse and a purport. And then, so, I could go in explaining about Vidura, where he comes from, why he left home, why he came back, because otherwise it will take a few years for us to get there in the third canto. It's going to be there in the third canto, and it will take a few years. And then I could also, go into the purport. Srila Prabhupada doesn't go so much into details about conversation between Vidura and Maitreya. Where he goes is that Srimad-Bhagavatam is for everyone. Srimad-Bhagavatam is for everyone. That's where he goes. That is for people like, he give example how it is for everyone. It is for people like, for example, he says a materialistic person, they want to control matter. And they want to, the way they control matter is by like accumulating knowledge about matter, creating laws about matter, and the way they control matter, how, the scientific is by thinking that they understand everything about matter. But Srila Prabhupada gave an example of a rose. And that was very touching for me, that example of a rose, because, like just taking, let's say we were spending 1 week with a rose, which is interesting because in my childhood, I grew up with the story of the Little Prince. Now I think in America, people know it. It's Saint-Exupéry. So I grew up with that story, very like my family was all focused on that story. So from the very young age. And the Little Prince, he fell in love with a rose. He really fell in love with a rose. And he spent all his time with that rose and wondering what the rose needs, and also asking why the rose have thorn. And then he explained why the rose speaks. She's a rose that speaks, and she explained why she have, she needs to be protected. She's kind of vain, that rose, and she's very demanding. She's so demanding, that rose. Anyway, so we can spend time with the rose and wonder, like, who thought of that rose? Why is there a rose even? The world will work perfectly. We can go to work, we can make money, we can eat, we can feed ourselves, we can sleep, we can have houses without roses. They are kind of, from one perspective, useless. They are no function. Roses have no function, really. So we can ask ourselves, why is there roses? We're not going to find a response there. And then we can continue to be with the rose and say, wow, the rose is the color. Color is, why is that color? Why not another color? Maybe it's a red rose, or like, I love roses. So I have a very, very small yard, and there is 17 rose bushes on that little piece of land, because I love roses. And they have so many colors. Some are like very light pink, and some like dark pink, some yellow roses, so many colors for rose. But why is that color and not another color? And the fragrance. I'm careful when I am buying roses, because a lot of people give me rose bushes. But when I get roses, I make sure that they are fragrant, because the Lord tells us that that's what he accepts the most, is fragrance in flower. So I make sure that they are fragrant. But where does that fragrance come from? Of course, it comes from the earth. We know that from Bhagavatam. But without the Bhagavatam, I will not know that the fragrance of the rose comes from the fragrance of the earth, because every fragrance comes from the earth. And so I was meditating on the rose, and I was thinking, there is a rose because the Lord desires a rose. And there is no other reason. And not only the Lord desires a rose, but he has the intelligence to create a rose. through his agency, his different multifarious energies. And Srila Prabhupada gave an example in his purport about a painter. Like a lot of people, they love art, and then they glorify the artist. Oh, the artist is so amazing, he can paint that rose, and he's so capable. But the rose, even the rose from the best artists, is not as sophisticated and as beautiful as the rose. In the morning, the roses are closed, and then during the day, they open up, and then at the end of the day, they close again. It's like the one on the painting doesn't move, doesn't do anything, doesn't smell like anything. But yet, people, like when they have studied nature, they forget about God. They forget completely that God is a source of all creation. And Srila Prabhupada pointed that out, that how greater the rose is, and now if we lose track of Krishna, we lose track of God. And that's the Srimad-Bhagavatam, even for people like that, the Srimad-Bhagavatam will be the response. There is a verse, in fact, in this chapter, it's let's see if I have it here. It's in a first chapter of this canto. We are going to visit this canto a little bit, yeah. So there is a verse that says Akama Karma Sarvo Mo Udaradharadi Prokaksha. Oh, I lost it. It's 2-3-10. I'm going to go to it because I don't remember the Sanskrit. I have a problem with remembering my verses now. I learned so many verses over the many years, and I forget even more verses, it seems. Akama Sarva Karma Va Moksha Karma Udaradi Tivrena Bhakti Yogena Yajeta Purushampam. So that's in our canto 2. I want to revisit this canto because we are finishing it tomorrow. So I say, okay, let's go and read major verse in that canto. And this say a person who has broader intelligence, so a person with broader intelligence, whether he's full of material desire, without any material desire, or desiring liberation, must by all means worship the Supreme Whole, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And the way to worship with our intelligence is to study the book of the pure devotees, to study Srimad-Bhagavatam, because Srimad-Bhagavatam is the answer for all questions, and Srimad-Bhagavatam is for everyone. So if we have material desire, if we are grossly in material desire, if we have no material desire, or if we desire liberation, Srila Prabhupada goes into that people who are, it's funny, it's that people who think that they have cosmic consciousness, and then, like they cannot even see what's behind the wall, and them claiming that they are like them. So many people claim so many things. And claiming something about ourselves doesn't make it true. It just doesn't make it true. So Srila Prabhupada have a few more in his purport about that. And it's even a personalist who read Srimad-Bhagavatam, receive here Srimad-Bhagavatam, are going to derive value. They are going to derive values. Their heart is going to be purified. Like there is example like of Sukadev Goswami. He was an impersonalist. He doesn't have any material desire. He was completely liberated. Sukadev Goswami was completely liberated. He didn't even make distinction. He was capable of being completely detached from this world. And it's described by hearing Srimad-Bhagavatam when he was in the womb of his mother, and later on from his father, Srila Vyasadeva. He became a personalist. So even if we desire liberation, by reading the Srimad-Bhagavatam, we are going to reach liberation, and we are also being open to what's beyond liberation, which is developing love of Krishna. So I want to go back to our text, which is a verse where we have Shonaka Rishi asking question from the verse yesterday that Dear Govinda gave a class on the verse yesterday. It looked like a jump because we had Sukadev Goswami speaking about creation, and then it was speaking about the Lord, and then all of a sudden Shonaka Rishi come in the middle and say, oh, what's happened with Vidura? We want to hear about Vidura and Maitreya. And it seemed like a jump. So I wanted to go back to the history of Srimad-Bhagavatam. And the history of Srimad-Bhagavatam is that the Srimad-Bhagavatam is compiled by Vyasadeva, which is a literary incarnation of Krishna. And Srila Vyasadeva, he heard it at Naimisharanya. He also was there with Sukadev Goswami, both places. And he narrates about a gathering that took place 5,000 years ago in Naimisharanya with sage gathering because he could feel that it was the end of Dwapara Yoga and Kali Yoga was coming. And so they gathered to do a 1,000 year of sacrifice. And during that 1,000 years, Sutta Goswami spoke the Srimad-Bhagavatam. He spoke the Srimad-Bhagavatam. And so we have Vyasadeva narrating the Srimad-Bhagavatam, narrating the conversation at Naimisharanya between Sonaka Rishi, who is the spokesperson of all the sages. All the sages have questions, and he's just a spokesperson. Of course, those sages, they don't need internet, they don't need texting to text to Sonaka Rishi. They all have the ability to communicate through the mind. So Sonaka Rishi represents all the sages at Naimisharanya, and Sutta Goswami is a speaker. Again, Sutta Goswami spoke the Bhagavatam in his mature age. It is described at the beginning of the Bhagavatam. And the sages, they ask questions, and they ask questions similar to someone that recently asked me the question, where is Krishna now? Where is Krishna now? What does he do? Where is he gone? And how can we find Krishna now? So that's question that the sages of Naimisharanya ask to Sutta Goswami, and Sutta Goswami starts responding by saying, Munayo sadhu pristo ham bhavagbir loka mangala yakrita Krishna samprasna yayatma suprasidati. He said, oh sages, your questions are worth it because they relate to Lord Krishna. So all questions that relate to Lord Krishna was asking. And he said, and they have of relevance to the world welfare. And so that's the relevance of the Srimad-Bhagavatam. It's in relevance, and this is so connected. Srila Prabhupada, Srimad-Bhagavatam is for everyone. And it's in relevance to the world welfare. So Srimad-Bhagavatam is Krishna, is Krishna himself. So when we read Srimad-Bhagavatam, we dive into the nectar of immortality, of association with Krishna. And, Sutta Goswami explained that Srimad-Bhagavatam is as brilliant as a million of suns. It's so brilliant. And he is here to dissipate all the darkness of Kali Yoga. So by taking shelter of Srimad-Bhagavatam, hearing, glorifying Krishna with the Bhagavatam, we are directly taking shelter of Krishna. And so the sage of Naimisharanya, they ask their question, and that's how Sutta Goswami responds. And then he goes on describing pure devotional service and bhakti yoga as a process, by which to understand that. So the Srimad-Bhagavatam, then Sutta Goswami, so that's Sutta Goswami starts speaking in second chapter of the first canto of Srimad-Bhagavatam. And then he describes, and then it's like, it goes to so many places, the incarnation of the Lord, and it goes to also pastime from the Mahabharata with the Pandavas. And then towards the end, then we come to Canto 2, where Sukadev Goswami and Maharaj Parikshit and their conversation is introduced. And really, the Bhagavatam is about that conversation. It is about the conversation between Sukadev Goswami and Maharaj Parikshit. Maharaj Parikshit at the beginning of the second canto that we are reading, we hear how he asks a question. What is the duty of one who is about to die? What is the duty of one who is about to die? And that's the beginning of our canto here. And because what are we supposed to do when we are about to die? And Srimad-Bhagavatam is here to guide us. Is here for us to understand what's the duty of a man who is about to die and what will make the process of dying 100% successful. 100% successful. Because often I look at that there is no, in this world, we have guaranteed of no. There is no guarantee. There is no guarantee. We can endeavor for money and never get money. We can endeavor so much for a beautiful relationship and never get a relationship. Even by doing all the courses that you want, all the seminars that you want. We can endeavor very hard to get a beautiful relationship and never get that. We can endeavor very, very hard, and I personally know about that, to have a good health. I put so much energy. I'm a lay doctor. For the last 30 years, I studied so much natural medicine. If I was to calculate all the hours I spend in studying medicine, I probably spend as much hours than someone in med school for 7 years. But I spent 35 years in studying. Mm-hmm. But I study so much. I would spend hours and hours studying one element or like Ayurveda, because I'm fascinated by it, but also because I wanted to make sure I have a good health. That's humoristic, I think. That's very humoristic. And that I will never get cancer. So there is no guarantee. When we take birth, all we know is that we are going to die. We are going to get old, hopefully, but we are going to die. So that's, that we are getting old, it's a maybe. Of course, we get old every day. We age every day, but when, in a sense, that's what we know of old age, that's a maybe. So only one guarantee. There is only one guarantee when we take birth, is that we are going to die. So it seems to me that with some intelligence and logic, we can come to the conclusion that if there is only one thing that's guaranteed in this life, is that this is the purpose of human life, is to focus on that one thing that's guaranteed. Mm. And that's where the Bhagavatam focuses, and that's where the Bhagavatam starts, with Sukadev Goswami speaking to Maharaj Parikshit. And Sutta Goswami was part, like as soon as the world, the world got to know that Maharaj Parikshit, the great emperor of the world, the descendant of the Pandava, the great grand-nephew of Shri Krishna, was about to die, then even without any internet, without smartphone, people from all over the world, sages from all over the world, came and gathered around the king. And one of them came from, maybe all of them came from Naimisharanya, but the one we know came from Naimisharanya is Sutta Goswami. He came there and he heard that dialogue. And so in the Bhagavatam, Srila Vyasadeva narrates Sutta Goswami speaking to the sages, who is narrating what he heard from Sukadev Goswami. And Sukadev Goswami, as he's speaking to Maharaj Parikshit, he often quote dialogue, different dialogue, like here in this second canto. So much of what the second canto is giving us is a dialogue between Narada Muni and Brahma. We saw like the Chatur Sloka in chapter 9, and like so much of what we receive in this is the dialogue between Sukadev Goswami and Parikshit Maharaj, and that includes the dialogue between Narada Muni and his father, Lord Brahma. And then in the third canto, then we are going to hear about Vidura. And Sukadev Goswami is going to narrate about Vidura's conversation with Maitreya Rishi. There is first with Uddhava and then Maitreya Rishi. And within that, there is a story of Kapila Dev. It's fascinating. Story inside the story, inside the story, inside the story, inside the story. And I found it thrilling to always kind of who's speaking here and why and who did it. And so when Sonaka Rishi came back here at the end of the second canto, I said, why is he coming back here and speaking about that? And I did some research, and dear Govinda Prabhu spoke about it yesterday, that 15 chapter ago, which will be, I think there is 12 canto to the Srimad-Bhagavatam. And the Srimad-Bhagavatam is spoken by Sukadev Goswami is 7 days. So, and it's 7 days and night. It's not days, it's 7 days and night. So that means that a little less than 2 canto per 2 days and night, if I calculate properly, a little bit less than 2 canto per, because not all cantos are the same size. So a little bit like that. So here we are probably at the beginning of day 3 of listening, like something like that. And so 15 chapter, I would say, I calculated yesterday, probably something like between, 5, 6, and 10 hours, something like that. So 10 hours ago or 5 hours ago, they heard about Vidura, because Vidura, there is Dhritarashtra quit home, which is a chapter in the first canto, which is a very, very beautiful chapter. I encourage you to read it. It's so full of knowledge that Vidura comes and he gives a lecture to Dhritarashtra, and he doesn't spare him. He says, you're old, your body is decrepit, you are living like a dog. That's what he said to Dhritarashtra. He shake him up. Come on, wake up. Don't stay in your comfortable life. And then Dhritarashtra gets it. Yeah, I'm about to die. I'm old. Why am I so attached to prestige? Why am I so attached to comfort? And then Vidura is so merciful. Even so, the reason he left his house, and it's, the sage are asking here, and we will hear about it, is because he was insulted by Dhritarashtra and his son Duryodhana. They completely insulted him just before the battlefield of Kurukshetra. They kind of told him like he was kind of nothing. He was less than nothing because he was the son of a Shudrani. And they insulted him. And that's why he left. He was trying to plead with them. Please don't go into the war. The Pandavas are going to win. Krishna is on their side. They are pious. Come on, make peace. Give them what they want. And Duryodhana was so angry. And we read that in the Krishna book yesterday. How Duryodhana was so envious, jealous of the Pandavas, and so angry that they insulted Vidura, and Vidura, he left. And during the battlefield of Kurukshetra, in fact, he was on a pilgrimage. And that's, he did a lot of pilgrimage. And then, in fact, he heard about the battlefield of Kurukshetra. He heard about everything that's happened on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. And he heard about the dismiss of the Yadu dynasty and the Kuru dynasty, and he heard about the dismiss of the Yadu dynasty. He heard about Krishna leaving the planet. he heard all that while he was on that pilgrimage. And then he came afterwards. After all that happened, he came back because Dhritarashtra was after the battle, and after all that was resolved, Dhritarashtra was leaving with the Pandava like that. So, so that's happened like that. So I encourage you to read that. So again, there is so many, and I love that way of speaking, is that a story or a philosophical point that brings us to think of the story. And then we tell the story, and in that story, there is another philosophical point that makes us think of another story. And then like that, we, for hours and hours, we can be 24 hours a day absorbed in the Srimad-Bhagavatam and hearing about all those devotees and their relationship with Krishna. So I got sidetracked a little bit, and I want to go back to, okay, so it's all relevant for the welfare, and everyone is asking questions. So Srila Prabhupada, like when Sutta Goswami thanks he really thanks them. He said, "Oh, sages, you know, those questions are so special. He's so, and only question of that sort can fully satisfy the self," he said. Only those questions. And in Srila Prabhupada, in the purport to that verse, he explained that there is no difference between the speaker of the Bhagavatam and the listener and the questioner of the Srimad-Bhagavatam. They can change role. Like in a sense, here we have Sutta Goswami and Shonaka Rishi. And through Shonaka Rishi's question, we can understand he has a lot of knowledge and the role can be shifted. Same thing with Maharaj Parikshit, the grandson of Krishna. He saw Krishna in the womb. All his life, he heard about Krishna from his grandfather, the Pandavas. And those roles could be changed. However, by Krishna's arrangement, as the pastime evolves, that's the way it is. That Maharaj Parikshit is an inquirer and Sukadeva Goswami is a speaker. Same thing with Maitreya Rishi and Vidura. Vidura is a great sage. He preached so heavily to Dhritarashtra, but still he wanted to hear from Maitreya Rishi. Mainly he wanted to hear from Maitreya Rishi because Maitreya Rishi was there when Krishna left the planet. And Krishna was speaking with Uddhava. And Krishna was aware Maitreya Rishi is right there listening. And he heard it all. But really Krishna was speaking with Uddhava. So we will hear about all that as we go further. So Srimad-Bhagavatam is for everyone. And then at the end of his purport, Srila Prabhupada speaks about the eagerness of the sage of Naimisharanya. And one of the Chatur Shloka of Bhagavad Gita, again, I used to know it by heart, and so I'm not going to try. Machita madgata prana bodhayanta parasparam kadayantas chamam nityam tusantisha ramanticham. So that verse said, the thought of my pure devotee dwell in me. So the pure devotee, like their thought, don't go anywhere. Yesterday, I put it something on Facebook, is that's what we want to aspire, is that our thought dwell in Krishna all the time. Their lives are fully devoted to my service. So the life, like how we can see a pure devotee, is that their life is 100% devoted to the service of Krishna. And there they derive great satisfaction and bliss from always enlightening one another and conversing about me. So that's authority we want to find, like Shonaka Rishi and Sutta Goswami. They derive so much satisfaction. 1,000 years of sacrifice. Speaking about Krishna, like Parikshit Maharaj, he where it is that 2237. On 2237, Parikshit Maharaj, it's already probably a full day and a full night that he's listening to Sukadev Goswami, and he says, those who drink through an oral reception, fully filled with the nectarian message of Lord Krishna, the beloved of the devotee, purified the polluted aim of life known as material enjoyment, and thus go back to Godhead and to the lotus feet, to the lotus feet of Him, the personality of Godhead. So drinking through oral reception. So we need to be thirsty. Remember to that greed, want that greed, like pray for that greed. And if we cannot pray for that greed to want to hear the message of the Lord, we want to pray to have the desire to have that greed. Pray for the desire. If that we don't want that greed, then pray for the desire to have that greed, that I want to listen, I want to be thirsty. Like Maharaj Parikshit is so thirsty to hear. Because by hearing Srinvatan Swagata Krishna, Punya Shravana Kirtana, Vidyantiasto Yabhadrani, Vidunoti Sweet Satan, Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, with the Paramatma inside the heart, clean the desire for material enjoyment from the heart of the truthful devotee who have developed the urge to hear about his message, which are in themselves virtuous when properly heard and chanted. So all we need to do, if we really study Srimad-Bhagavatam, Srimad-Bhagavatam tells us all you need to do is to study Srimad-Bhagavatam. That's quite simple. By hearing and hearing and hearing more, all we need to do, this is simple. Hearing the Lord's glories constantly from the proper authority. And that's really important. Srila Prabhupada make a point at the end of his purport, from the proper authority. Shushu Shadadana Sya, Vasudeva Kataruchi, Syad Maha Tevaya Vipra, Punyatirtha Nishevana. Again, Sutta Goswami said to the sage, O twice born, by serving those devotees who are completely free from all vice. So by serving those devotees who are completely free from all vice. Jai Srila Prabhupada. Great service is done. So by serving those devotees, and how we serve Srila Prabhupada? By reading this book. How we serve the great devotee? By following his instruction. What are those instructions? Chant 16 rounds. Follow those 4 regulative principles, it will save you from so much pain. If you follow those 4 regulative principles, they are called the regulative principle of freedom. We all want freedom. But in the name of freedom, we entangle ourselves. So Srila Prabhupada here is how you can get freedom. Follow those 4 regulative principles of freedom. Chant 16 rounds. Read my book. And then it says, Sutta Goswami said, by such a service, one gets affinity for hearing the message of Vasudeva. So if we don't have that affinity, then again, the Bhagavatam is saying, okay, all you need to do is to fully be greedy, absorb in listening from the proper authority, and that's all you need to do. Listen, hear Bhagavatam again and again and again. And if that's, if you don't have that affinity, still, what you can do, serve the mission of the spiritual master, serve the mission of Srila Prabhupada, give yourself Satadhanasya, that great service is rendered by service to that devotee who is free from all vice. That devotee who is free from all vice. Great service is done. And we are going to develop that affinity. How to serve Srila Prabhupada? By service his mission. What is mission? To deliver the fallen conditioned soul. Every day we can try to tax our brain. How can I serve Srila Prabhupada? How can I create a home that when people come to that home, they are spiritual advancement, they make spiritual advancement. How to glorify the Lord constantly. Sheto Darpana, like just by glorifying Sri Krishna Sankirtanam. Param Vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam. All glories to the Sankirtan movement of Lord Chaitanya. So by glorifying the Lord, Like the other day I'm doing IV every week, I'm doing some IV. And so I'm developing a relationship with the nurse. We're giving the IV because it's a long IV. They draw my blood out and then they do something to the blood and then they put back the blood in. So it takes about 45 minutes. And so I have a lot of time with that nurse, and she's Christian, Okala Christian. And so I established a trust with her that now she's revealing her mind, and I share with her, and she thinks I'm so wise and so amazing. And, you know, I'm using all my skills, and I know that's impacting her. And then also, there's the last time we spoke, I said, and God gave you time. We are speaking about time, and what she was doing with time is giving it to others, but not taking care of herself. And at the end, she was frustrated. I said, you know, that time is not yours. It is not yours. It's Kala. It's time, it's Krishna's time. I didn't say Krishna, I said God, because Krishna will have not resonated for her. But it doesn't matter. I was glorifying the Lord. And as soon as we glorify the Lord, we can always find a way to glorify the Lord, no matter who we interact with. And in that glorification, Param Vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam, we are in that process of Lord Chaitanya. We are fulfilling the desire of Srila Prabhupada, meeting people where they are at, and then finding a way. And for her, it was like, when I left, she said, you made my day. I never thought that it wasn't my time. It was God's time. And she liked that. You know, I didn't know she would like that, but she did. She liked that. So in terms of time, there is a verse in our, I decided to choose verse from this canto because we are finishing it and I feel a separation already from this canto. So I say we are going to visit some verses. So it's chapter 1, verse 12. I'm sure all the verses I'm quoting, I'm sure Dear Govinda knows them all by heart. And I'm okay with that. And
Special verse.
Special verse. And Sita Goswami said, what is, oh no, I think it's Shonaka Rishi, in fact. Oh no, Sukadeva Goswami speaking. What is the value of a prolonged life which is wasted, inexperienced by years in this world? So people are so focused on prolonging their life. For what? I was at the springs the other day, and there was a lady, she was really old. I don't know how old she was, but she looked very old, like late 70s or 80s. And she was with a man, and they really acted like 16-year-old lovers in public. And I was thinking, okay, so they are prolonging their life to chew what have been already chewed, even in this lifetime. How many romantic experience can we have before we get burned out by them? But still they were trying. They were trying, and I could see they were new lovers, like from their interaction. And I knew, like, okay, 6 months from down the road, or a year, or maybe 2 years, or 10 years, it's going to look very different. And why are they going to spend their precious old age in a romantic pursuit? Or some people, they try to continue to do business, to have more money. What is the value of a prolonged life? And it's a little bit later, there is a verse about like when our lungs, I'm not going to search for the verse, but when our lungs are breathing, if our life is not used in service to the pure devotee and Krishna, they are like the billow of a blacksmith. It just blows winds. Maybe he agitated the fire of material desire, but that's all it does. It's non-different. If we think of our lungs breathing for just agitating the fire of material desire and creating suffering for us, it's here also in those verses. And then, yeah, I think I'm going to stop because I could go on forever. There is so much nectar in this. Of course, the 9th chapter is where we find the Chatur Shloka, which is in the nutshell, 4 verses nutshell of the Srimad-Bhagavatam, given by Brahma. The head of our disciplic succession is Lord Brahma. And so he gave that knowledge in disciplic succession to his son Narada. And he gave the whole Srimad-Bhagavatam in 4 verses. And that's Chatur Shloka, that's those 4 verses that we can find in the 9th chapter of the 2nd canto. So this canto is so crucial for our understanding of the Srimad-Bhagavatam. And Shukadev Goswami, Sutta Goswami, they meet us where we are at, entangled in the material energy. So they meet us there and they explain to us what is the material energy. How does it function? What is the source of the material energy? What desire is behind the material energy? What the purpose of the material energy? Because that's where we are at. And by listening, we can understand. First, we can understand that it's way more complex than what we think it is. And the second thing we can understand and take with us from the 2nd canto is how little control we have. And here it said that, what it said? That Krishna can take care of everything. Like that Krishna take care of everything perfectly. In this, just here in that purport, Srila Prabhupada said, Krishna take care. He can take care of everything perfectly with full attention. Full attention. We have his full attention if we choose to have his full attention. And we can choose that. How? By absorbing ourselves in Srimad-Bhagavatam, by hearing and chanting. Whatever we hear and chant, that's what's our mind. Our mind is like a sponge. It absorbs, like I can see myself if I just watch the news, like that, or watch something, a documentary, or read something about health. That in the next few days when I chant, or when I'm just mindless, that's what's come back to my mind. Where does that come from? Come from what you absorb yourself in. Nothing very special, like look at what you absorb yourself with. It's a sponge. A sponge absorbs, expand with all what we give, all the water. And then when we don't give, like it regurgitates everything we put in the mind. So it's our responsibility. Spiritual life is a razor edge, Srila Prabhupada said. It's a razor edge. We can cut ourselves so easily. So we need to hear Tachradanana Munayo Jnana Vairagya Yuktayo Pashantyatma Tatmanam Bhakta Shuta Britaya. So a Bhakta should be well equipped with knowledge and renunciation. And he should get that from authority, from the Veda, from the spiritual master, from Srila Prabhupada. Choose your authority. There is many authority. We can choose from so many authority. It's like in Ayurveda, there is a principle in Ayurveda. I really like that principle in Ayurveda. In Ayurveda, there is a principle of trusting your doctor. There is a principle of trusting your doctor. And finding a doctor you trust. And there may be many, many doctors that are really good. And there may be many, many doctors who can heal you. And it's clear, there is qualified Ayurvedic doctor. And there is many of them who can heal you. But if you continually spend your time seeking a doctor and learning from that doctor and this doctor, and I'm doing a little bit of medicine from this doctor, and I'm doing a little bit of medicine from this doctor, and then maybe I will do a little bit from this doctor medicine, then the chance that you're going to heal is very, very, very reduced, minimized, because maybe even all those treatments, they are not aligned with each other. And even if they are aligned, because you're not under the supervision of the authority of one doctor who can see, who understands your symptom, who give you the medicine according to your symptom, and who is following up on you, then the healing is not going to take place. And that's a principle in Ayurveda, that I choose a doctor, and after I choose a doctor, this is my authority. This is what I follow. And I'm not going to look at, maybe there is other doctor that could heal me. That's possible. Maybe there is doctors that are as good as this doctor, but I don't want to hear about them because I have chosen my doctor, and that's the way I'm going to get better. That's the way I'm going to get better. And yasya deve pa bhakti yata deve tatagu tasyate katita yata pakashanti mahatmana. Only to those great souls who have implicit faith in both the Lord and the spiritual master. It doesn't say spiritual masters, it says spiritual master. Are all the imports of Vedic knowledge automatically revealed. So with Vedic knowledge, of course, we want to associate with the Lord, we want to hear, we want to chant, we want to glorify the Lord, we want to serve the spiritual master, we want to serve the spiritual master mission by glorifying the Lord, making sure we chant and we hear and others chant and hear. And the Shastra, everything in the Vedic literature is going to be revealed to us by our implicit faith in Krishna and Guru, the spiritual master, the doctor. I know, like, when I stepped out of the Western medicine, I knew I wanted one doctor. There are so many people, everybody was writing to me like, what about that? That person heals so many cancer, and this person heals so many cancer, and you can go there, and you can go here, and you can, and it was so confusing, so bewildering. And I was like, oh, I don't know what to do. Then I could have done nothing, or I could have done only what felt good. That was a possibility. I decided, no, I'm going to choose a doctor. And I'm going to choose a doctor that I see naturally Krishna sent me. So I choose Rohini. Rohini, she's Parampara's wife. Rohini, Prabhu, I choose Rohini. She was right there. It was clear Krishna has sent her. It was clear that she had Paramatma also speaking to her, that she was supposed to be the one for me. And I have been following her since. And I feel so great. I feel wonderful. I feel healed. So in spiritual life, we need to remember it's our responsibility, and it is a razor edge. So easily we can cut ourselves and bleed our life hair to not being strict, like Yavaya Mika Buddhi Rekehaku Nandana. I have that verse somewhere. I like it. Rekehaku Nandana. Yeah, that's one. Yeah, I will say it. Yavasayatmika Buddhi Rekeha Kurunandana Paushakaya Nantascha Buddhayo Vyavasayanam. And here it's what he said. Those who are on this path are resolute in purpose. They are resolute in purpose. What's the purpose? To fulfill the desire of the spiritual master, to please the spiritual master, to hear from the authority of the spiritual master, and to fulfill the purpose of human life, to step out of the misery of this material life. And their aim is one. He said in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna said, they are resolute in purpose. Their aim is one. And now we fulfill by austerity. Sometimes the austerity is that I'm not going to listen to that doctor. Even so, that doctor seems to have a very sweet medicine. I'm not going to listen to that doctor because my doctor is Rohini. I'm not going to listen to that doctor because I know which doctor I have chosen, and I have implicit faith. And that's going to help me to have an aim. My aim is one, because I'm clear where I'm going and what I want. Then I'm following the medicine. O beloved child of the Guru, the intelligence of those who are irresolute is many branch. So if we don't have that resolution, intelligence go everywhere. Oh, maybe I can get some state of consciousness, and I can get some hoo-hoo experience if I go there or here. Irresolute intelligence. If we are not like, yeah, I'm going there, and there is a path, and let me follow that path, even if it's so slow, even if I don't make advancement, I stay on the path somehow. I stay on the path, even if I feel like I'm making no progress. I'm here. I'm resolute. I'm going to reach where that path take me, even if it take me thousands of lifetimes, but I'm staying on that path. So irresolute. So those who are on this path are resolute in purpose, and their aim is one. Oh, beloved child of the cool, the intelligence of those who are irresolute is many branched. So we can look at our intelligence. Is our intelligence many branched, or is that we are really clear? I'm not deviating. Ekea is like one Ekea, one-minded. I know where I'm going. So that's Bhagavad Gita 241 for those who want to learn that verse. Hare Krishna, I'm going to stop this time. Hare Krishna, thank you for listening. It was a pleasure. And there are so many other verses from this canto I wanted to share, and I will be for another time. Shatukosha Avestasya Samvandodhyatmashu Samshritaha Yavasa Bhagavan Tasmai Kritastadvamuvakshaha Uinastadidam Somya Vidurasya Vishestitam Bandhutyagyanimitam Cha Yataiva Gatavam Punaha. Shonakya Rishi said, let us know, please, what topics were discussed between Vidura and Maitreya? Who talked on transcendental subjects? And what was inquired by Vidura and replied by Maitreya? Also, please let us know the reason for Vidura's giving up the connection of his family members and why he again came home. Please also let us know the activities of Vidura while he was in the places of pilgrimage. Hare Krishna, thank you for listening. Is there any comment, question, realization, sharing? Hare Krishna.
Right. What would you say? What's the distinction, if any? Hare Krishna, Haribol. Well, what's the distinction, if any, between this resolute in purpose and follow my doctor, and blind following, having blinders on, being narrow-minded? What's the relationship there?
Thank you for asking. I love that question. Thank you for asking. So I'm going to go to another story because that's how it goes. Thank you for your question. Like, okay, what's the difference between like, okay, I'm choosing an authority. I have, I have trust. I'm placing trust in Guru and Krishna. And then I close my eyes, I close my intelligence, and I just follow. That's blind intelligence. And what's the distinction there? What it seems that, if you just implicit faith means you accept everything and you follow blindly. But obviously that's not where we are going, because quite the opposite. The whole Srimad-Bhagavatam, the Bhagavad Gita, is question and responses. So we will see Vidura. Vidura is very wise. He was uncle of the Pandavas. He's also uncle of Krishna. Anyways, there is connection. He was in connection with Krishna, and he met Maitreya Rishi, and it's clear I'm accepting him as my spiritual master. And we will see throughout the third canto and even the fourth canto, Vidura is asking questions to Maitreya Rishi. In the Srimad-Bhagavatam Gita, Arjuna was confused. He didn't know what his duty was. He didn't know his responsibility. He couldn't, see up from down. He had so many sentimental, arguments. sometimes our sentimentality gets in the way of seeing clearly the plan of the Lord and the orchestration of everything. So Arjuna was in that position and he said, "Oh Krishna, I accept you. I'm a soul surrender unto you." So we can think like, okay, from that time, Arjuna is going to accept blindly everything Krishna says. But then just a few verses down the road, he said, "Krishna, what you said doesn't make any sense. I don't get it." So we can see from Arjuna's example that no, it's not blind following. It's not blind following, that the relationship between the authority, the master, and the disciple is a relationship of trust. And for the disciple to use his intelligence, to understand, like, okay, what I don't understand, to come to a place of like, okay, at one point, Krishna said to Arjuna, like, you should control your mind. Like he describes the yogi. And Krishna said, like, to control my mind is more difficult than controlling the wind. What do you mean? I'm not capable of doing that. You need to meet me where I am at. This is not possible. And then the 12th chapter is all about that. The 12th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, where it said, like, okay, so I want to give you the medicine. Clearly, if you understand you're sick, because many people don't think they're sick, but let's say I'm understanding I'm sick. Then I'm choosing a doctor, I follow the authority, but maybe the doctor wants me to do something. And I'm just like, no, those pills are too big. I cannot swallow them. They're just too big. And I have a problem with my blood. And then my blood I cannot swallow them. Then the doctor said, okay, if you cannot do that, then maybe we'll melt them and make a tea with a pill. And then you take the tea. But it's not like, okay, the doctor said to take the pill, I cannot take the pill. I'm going to force myself to take the pill. I need to do that anyway. Because that's blind following and it doesn't serve anyone. What in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna said to Arjuna, what repression can accomplish. So repression doesn't accomplish anything. Quite the opposite. Throughout the Srimad-Bhagavatam, it's an intelligent man. Intelligent man. What does that mean? Intelligent man means a man of discrimination. Someone who can distinguish, make distinction. And naturally, an intelligent man, someone who make distinction, is not a blind follower. Is not someone who is called an intelligent man is not a blind follower. There is no, in fact, blind following or blind rejection is no virtues. There's no virtues. To blindly follow something or to blindly reject something is no virtue. So much of the Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita is about not blindly follow and be inquisitive. Here you're saying that I don't get it. And even my relationship with Ruini, my doctor, my authority, there was time where I inquired. I said, well, you said to do that, and I'm not sure about that. I wonder. It's a relationship, the dialogue. So, like, as we read the Srimad-Bhagavatam, as we inquire from Srila Prabhupada and his representative, and like Srila Prabhupada creating a system where by following his instruction, by following his process, then we get knowledge, and then we are capable of giving the knowledge to others and guide others. Because in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Lord Chaitanya, who is God himself, Krishna himself, non-different from Krishna, he gives us an order. There is only one order in the Chaitanya Charitamrita from Lord Krishna, from Lord Chaitanya. You know what it is? Become a guru. He said, become a guru. That's our responsibility. So we learn from Srila Prabhupada, and we learn from those who have learned from Srila Prabhupada. And then we teach others to learn from Srila Prabhupada, as we have learned from those who have learned from Srila Prabhupada, and as we learn directly from Srila Prabhupada. But as the same thing, Srila Prabhupada again, taking shelter of the Srimad-Bhagavatam and the Bhagavad Gita. How is that response?
No, I appreciate it. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Yeah, I like, yeah. I like your example of Arjuna right there. So he accepted Krishna as spiritual master, but then he shared his doubts. I have questions. You said this, and that's a perfect example. That and that's okay. So you choose a doctor. Same time, not whimsically choose a doctor. Like it needs to be an authorized doctor. And you said there could be different authorized doctors. Similarly, there's different authorized lines of spiritual teachings authorized, but there's also a lot of nonsense, garbage, and cheating in the name of spiritual teachings, just like there is in the name of medicine.
That's what Srila Prabhupada said.
And then what ones like I'm thinking of the Prabhupada gives the example like a music school. Maybe it's a real example. Like if someone comes to apply to enter a music school, and I want to say, I already have experience and training in this other music school.
Yeah.
So then the music school says, oh, you have experience in another music school. So you pay triple tuition. I thought I'd get a discount. No, triple tuition, because it's going to be a lot. And it doesn't mean that the other music school was not authorized. It's just like, yeah, it's going to, you're going to need to spend a lot of time unlearning. Thanks for that. Thanks for your response.
I love that. I love that example of the music school and paying triple. And that's Srila Prabhupada says that.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's so fun. That's so fun. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, authorized. And also, we don't need to go there and there and there. If we are sincere, if we want the absolute truth, Jivasya, like that the goal of human life is to inquire about the absolute truth. If we are sincere, if we are intelligent and sincere about inquiring about the absolute truth, then Yasya Prasado, Bhagavat Prasado, Yasya Prasado, Nagati Kutopi. Krishna is sent as a spiritual master. Like, yeah, I wanted a doctor and there was so many choices. And I could also see there was one doctor that seemed connected with Super Soul and that seems to know that she's my doctor. And I also felt like, yeah, Krishna is sending me this doctor. So we don't have the intelligence to choose a doctor, in a sense, if we don't know medicine, isn't it? And so similarly, we don't really have the spiritual intelligence to choose a doctor. But by our sincerity, the doctor is sent to us. And then it's for us to grab the doctor and say, this is an authorized doctor, I check that. This is a doctor that can deliver me from birth, death, the cycle of birth and death. This is a doctor that's a sure foundation for my spiritual life. I'm going to trust that doctor and have implicit faith in that doctor and continue my process of inquiry while following that doctor. Yeah, thank you, I love that. And then if we follow another doctor, and then yes, sometimes we need to undo. I have done that sometimes. I go to a doctor and something gets really out of balance because of going to that doctor. And then I need to seek another doctor to re-put it in balance. And then my body goes like that because I have a very fragile body. So my body to stay in balance with anything, Ayurveda, acupuncture, or anything, is kind of a really tight rope and dance. Some people, some body are different. That's my body is like that. Malini could tell you a lot about that because it's challenging. So there's a tightrope in spiritual life too, is to really understand why I'm doing what I'm doing and choosing wisely according to what Krishna, as Super Chetaguru is guiding us and bringing to us. Yeah. Hi, Krishna. Laura, you have a question? Your hand is raised. Yes.
Yes, good morning. Oh, there's feedback.
Yeah. I'm going to put myself on mute. You will.
Okay. Yeah, I really appreciated class. Like I found this verse like easier than some others. And I really enjoyed the example of the rose part in the verse and then also your own personal example of that. And then I find a lot of things are like repetitive sometimes in these classes and like in a good way. It's like reminding me. And so I was appreciating the example of the doctor that you were just sharing about. And something it's coming up for me is like how to not go into feeling discouraged because I almost feel like, well, I'm never going to live up to that. I'm never going to I don't know, I don't know how my practice or interest will increase or not increase, or stop or the flow of it. But I'm just noticing, when I hear it over and over, oh yeah, you got 16 rounds and there's so many other things that are included in Krishna consciousness. And I'm wanting to meet myself where I'm at, but I notice I can go into discouragement or just and I'm not necessarily even going there, not oh, never mind, this doesn't matter, because I'm enjoying chanting again and doing classes. But I just, I don't know what that, there's some sense of this discouragement or well, then I don't know, I can't even place it. And I'm not letting that stop me, but it's just there, and it kind of bothers me. And so I just wanted to speak that out and give it a voice and share it. Yeah. You're on mute. You're on mute.
Thank you for sharing, Laura. You appreciated the Srila Prabhupada example with the rose. I appreciate it too. It's so clear. It's so clear how we forget the creator, the source of the rose, and just spending time with the rose is enough, I think, to find God. Yeah, really absorbing ourselves in the rose. And you're seeing it's repetitive, practically every page. Srila Prabhupada say we are not this body. We are not this body. And then repetitive of okay, the process, chanting at least 16 rounds, follows the four regulative principle. And then there is the lifestyle, so many things that's supportive in the lifestyle of Bhakti Yoga. And it seems so huge. It seems how can I get there from where I am at? And you found yourself, when you hear those, that it's difficult for you to meet yourself where you are at without feeling discouraged that I'm not there, and I'm not even sure I'm capable of being there. And then that discouragement, you can see, can be an hindrance to your progress in spiritual life. And you want to name it, you feel discomfort by it, you feel maybe that discouragement I imagine can lead to apathy or maybe complacency. I imagine if I'm discouraged about something, I kind of want to let go, or who cares?
Yeah, and the other thing is I want to know that it still matters, I guess. I don't know if I'm just doing that in my mind, the all or nothing, well, if I'm not all the way there, then if I'm only doing a little bit, does that even matter? So I'm questioning that. And I know in my heart, I don't believe that, but there's still some kind of thing in me that maybe it's not good enough. Okay, I'll look at it. Yeah, I see some of these things, but
intellectually you understand, I meet myself where I am at. And even in the Bhagavad Gita, verse 240, Krishna said to Arjuna, even a small endeavor in this process is not lost. There is no loss or diminution. Whatever I do, if I chant one round today, I never chant a round the rest of my life. This round is in my spiritual bank account. Whatever I do, and I meet myself where I am at. Maybe for me, chanting 16 rounds is not realistic. It's not realistic, and better to meet myself where I am at. And maybe what's realistic is, okay, I'm going to chant one mantra a day. This is wonderful. This is amazing. Anyone who chants even the mantra once is worshipable. Even once chanting the mantra, that person is worshipable. That person is to be glorified by chanting once the mantra. So intellectually, you understand that anything you do towards your spiritual life, there's no waste. It's there eternally. It's in that office, it was God support us eternally. So God is going to continue to support you eternally. And then the bigger bank account, the more you're making advancement. And so intellectually you understand that, and emotionally you can see that there is a part of you that want to make it one or nothing. And that describe also, there is some places in Srila Prabhupada teaching that Bogatyaga kind of a tendency, like all or nothing, like either I boga means I enjoy with everything and I just let my senses loose and I go for it. And then the Tyaga is that I renounce and I'm so strict and I follow all the rules and I chant 16 rounds a day and all those things. And how this is a pendulum. And so in a neophyte stage, we have a tendency to go in that pendulum. And that pendulum becomes damaging because it also creates guilt and shame and all that. That is not spiritual. Guilt and shame is not spiritual. Even so, often that's what we are trained to do, to guilt our shame and shame ourselves when it comes to spiritual practice. So that Bogatyaga thing, it's about understanding, okay, when I was in a boga, this is not me. I don't want to indulge my senses the way I indulge them. And I understand that. I don't want to eat that much ice cream. I don't want to do those things anymore. But still my senses need something. So I'm going to give them a little bit. And then the Tyaga thing is not me either. I'm not in a place where I'm ready to be a nun. That's not me. I'm not a nun. So that's okay. So where do I find? And sometimes, in order to find the balance, we need to let the pendulum amplitude kind of by itself come to a middle range. Like usually person that goes up and like that. There's a God-dog philosophy. So maybe the amplitude at the beginning is big, and then it becomes smaller and smaller. And my sense is that if you were to look at your life for the next 3 years, the next 5 years, the next 10 years, that the pendulum and the amplitude of the pendulum is reducing little by little. And little by little, every endeavor in this path of Krishna consciousness, Bhakti Yoga, every endeavor counts. And regardless what we do, like there is an example of Lord Ramachandra. Lord Ramachandra, he was building a bridge over the ocean between India and Sri Lanka. And he was building that bridge. To build that bridge, the ocean say, okay, if you write your name on Jai Shri Ram, if you write your name on the stone and throw them in the water in my ocean, they are going to float. And like that, you can create a bridge. And then Hanuman, who is known as Dasya avatar, like is a representative of relationship in servitorship to the Lord. Hanuman is big and strong, so he was carrying big boulder like that, big boulder, and look how much he chants 16 rounds, and he does it all. He's so strong. And then the story goes, and I've read the story in different places. Sometimes it says spider, sometimes it says scroll. Anyway, a small living entity. Let's say it's a scroll. I like the scroll better. But I can say spider, so maybe I should just use spider. I will use spider. So
because the word squirrel.
Yeah, I don't know how to pronounce that squirrel. Anyway, so there was a little spider, and he was so in love with Lord Ramachandra, and he so much wanted to serve Lord Ramachandra, and he wanted to be part of it. He wanted to be part of Bhakti Yoga. He wanted to be part of devotional service to the Lord. And so he was taking a small little pebble, and with all his effort, he was carrying that pebble to build the bridge over Lanka. And he was like, and Hanuman came with his big boulder and said, get out of the way, because he was doing the real service and kind of minimizing the spider service. And Lord Ramachandra chastised Hanuman. And he told them, no, because the Lord accepts our love and devotion. He doesn't accept our austerity. He doesn't accept, like the chanting of the round and all that. It's a way to show our love. It's a way to also take ourselves seriously, that I am contaminated. I am in this material world for many, many lifetimes. My mind is like that sponge. I have accumulated so many impressions. I need a process to clean it. Cheto Darpana Marjanam, like I need to clean the temple of my heart. And Krishna is kind enough. He gave us a Bhagavatam, he gave us spiritual master, he gave us a process, he gave us so many things to clean our heart. So yes, I'm going to take that. And at the core is always remember Krishna and never forget Krishna. And in that process, in that endeavor, there is no loss or diminution. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita. Hare Krishna. Thank you for your question, Laura.
Thank you for your response.
Hare Bye. Thank you for being here with us. Grantara Srimad-Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Oh, Aprimanande, Hari Hari Bol. Oh, there is a chat. I'm sorry, I didn't see the chat before.
Damayanti says, I love surrendering to the spiritual master, which God sends me. That has been very peaceful.
Thank you, Damayanti. Yeah, that's it. I love surrendering to the spiritual masters that Krishna sent me. Yeah, I know, and of course we can rationalize so many spiritual masters coming to us too. So it's not complete. We also, when Krishna sends someone, we want to check him out. Hare Krishna. All grace to Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna, thank you.